Before 2007, Nokia was the undisputed king of the global mobile market. At its zenith, this giant controlled a staggering 40% of the worldwide market. There was a time when 1 out of every 2 phones sold across the globe bore the Nokia logo. Their devices were passionately loved for their legendary durability, simplicity, and incredible battery life. Trailing just behind them was BlackBerry, which completely dominated the business segment with a 20% market share, thanks to its signature physical QWERTY keyboard and ultra-secure email system. At that time, these two companies held such a solid foothold that they seemed too big to fail. Then, Steve Jobs famously declared, "Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything." Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. These were the words that changed the playing field of the global telecommunications industry forever. The moment the first iPhone was unveiled, a revolution was ignited, and the very concept of a mobile phone was changed for good. The introduction of the multi-touch display shattered existing boundaries, transforming the phone into something far beyond a mere communication device. So, why did these tech titans, who once held half the world in their hands, crumble so rapidly? Was it truly because of inferior technology? Or did the root cause lie in their own conservatism? The very thing that had built their names in the first place? You are watching
Nokia
Behind
and
the Story.
BlackBerry at the
Today,
top.
we will decode the mystery behind the collapse of the greatest empires in tech history. Rewinding the clock to understand this seismic collapse, we must first step back in time. Nokia's history actually began long before the digital age. Founded in 1865, this Finnish company originally started in paper production before expanding into rubber, famously manufacturing Nokia-branded boots. However, the 1990s marked a decisive turning point when they pivoted into telecommunications. Through exceptional optimization of their supply chain and hardware, by 1998, Nokia officially became the world's largest mobile phone manufacturer. At its peak, they controlled 40% of the global mobile market. Consumers loved Nokia for one simple reason: reliability. Their phones were ultra-durable, easy to use, and boasted incredible battery life. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, BlackBerry was ruling the corporate world. At its height, BlackBerry held a 20% share of the global mobile market. They locked in business clients with an ironclad, secure email system and an unmistakable physical QWERTY keyboard design. Success after success followed these two giants. But in the tech world, massive success can sometimes become a dangerous trap. 8. The more they triumphed in the old world, the more blind faith they placed in their old formulas. Both Nokia and BlackBerry were convinced of one thing: customers would always need a physical keyboard and a design that prioritized hardware strength. They had no idea that a storm was quietly brewing in Silicon Valley. In the early 2000s, interaction between humans and mobile devices was a total mess. Most touchscreens at the time utilized resistive technology, the kind that required you to apply significant pressure or use a stylus to navigate. But everything changed in 2005 when Apple acquired Fingerworks, a small company that had pioneered the incredibly responsive and intuitive multi-touch technology. When Steve Jobs stood on that stage in 2007 to announce the birth of the iPhone, it was no longer just a communication tool. It became a compact computer living right in your pocket. The iPhone replaced dozens of clunky physical buttons with a massive 3.5-inch screen, 40% larger than almost any other smartphone on the market at the time. So, how did the industry titans react to this magic? At first, they scoffed. The emergence of a phone without a physical keyboard was dismissed by traditional players as an impractical experiment rather than a viable commercial product. BlackBerry executives were reportedly shocked to learn that AT&T had allowed Apple to integrate a full desktop-class web browser, firmly believing that loading full web pages would inevitably crash the cellular towers. However, the most fatal mistake lay in their software mindset. The future of mobile was no longer about hardware. It was about the intuitive touch experience and the soul within the software. Nokia, a company with deep roots in mechanical manufacturing, viewed software merely as a peripheral accessory. Their Symbian operating system became a technical nightmare for the new era, overly complex and sluggish. In 2009 alone, Nokia rolled out 57 different versions of its OS, none of which were compatible with each other. While Apple was busy shrinking macOS to fit into the iPhone, transforming it into a legitimate platform, Nokia was drowning in internal stagnation. Former Nokia chairman Risto Siilasmaa later revealed a pervasive culture of fear within the organization. Junior engineers knew all too well that Symbian was lagging behind. But the leadership simply refused to hear bad news. Arrogance clouded their vision, causing the ship to sink slowly while the captains still believed they were winning. The true knockout punch, however, wasn't just the screen. It arrived in 2008 with the launch of the App Store. It transformed the iPhone from a mere device into a massive ecosystem. While Nokia or BlackBerry sold you a piece of hardware and ended the transaction, Apple sold you an iPhone and welcomed you into a universe of software, apps, and entertainment that you would never want to leave. In a remarkably short time, the iPhone redefined the entire industry. Apple dominated the premium segment, while Android conquered the mass market. Nokia and BlackBerry were caught in the middle, lost, disoriented, and ultimately stripped of their crowns forever. When looking back at the downfall of Nokia and BlackBerry, it is easy to simply blame a lack of technological prowess or poor management. However, the truth is far deeper and much more philosophical. This stands as the starkest illustration of the success paradox. Their failure did not stem from weakness. On the contrary, it was born from their own past greatness. When a company wins consistently in the old world, they place a blind faith in the very formulas that created that success. Standing at the peak of glory for too long breeds complacency, risk aversion, and a desperate clinging to outdated legacies. In short, Nokia and BlackBerry didn't lose for a lack of resources. They lost because they tried to protect their past for far too long. This collapse also exposed a fundamental rift in product philosophy. Nokia and BlackBerry were trapped in the mindset of mechanical manufacturers. Build a hardware device, sell it to the customer, and consider the transaction closed. Meanwhile, their rivals envisioned an entirely different picture. Steve Jobs didn't see the iPhone as just a mobile device, but as the intersection of technology and the liberal arts. Apple doesn't just sell hardware, they sell an experience, a lifestyle, and initiate a long-term relationship with the user through their app ecosystem. In the brutal world of technology, a delayed reaction is equivalent to doing nothing at all. Even though Nokia later attempted a desperate leap to Microsoft's Windows Phone platform, and BlackBerry released Android-powered touch devices like the Priv, it was all too little, too late. Once you miss the beat in a race where your rivals are moving at breakneck speed, half-baked and indecisive changes are merely acts of prolonging the inevitable. The lesson here transcends the borders of Silicon Valley. Whether in business or in life, today's success is never a guarantee for tomorrow. The world does not stand still, and sometimes it is the smallest changes or the rivals you underestimate the most that end up redefining the entire game. Ultimately, the inevitable came to pass. In 2013, the world witnessed a seismic shift. Microsoft officially acquired Nokia's mobile phone division for just over $7 billion. It was a humble price tag compared to what this empire once commanded at its zenith. As for BlackBerry, Following belated efforts like the launch of the Android-powered Priv, they were forced to make a somber announcement in 2016. A complete cessation of all in-house hardware manufacturing. While the Nokia name lives on today through a partnership with MGD Global for Android smartphones, and as they pivot their focus toward 5G network infrastructure, their era of absolute dominance and radiant glory has truly closed forever. The final lesson: the world does not stand still. If you are not moving forward, you are inevitably being left behind. The story of Nokia and BlackBerry's collapse is more than just a somber chapter in tech history. It is a profound wake-up call for anyone standing at the peak. Today's success is never a guaranteed contract for tomorrow. And sometimes, the very rivals you once dismissed are the ones who will end up redefining the entire game. If you want to dive deeper into the frantic, high-pressure, and behind-the-scenes stories of how Apple built the very first iPhone, I highly recommend reading The One Device: The Secret History of the iPhone by Brian Merchant. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. You've been watching Behind the Brand. If this is your first time here, please hit the subscribe button. I'm certain you'll love the stories we have coming up next. I look forward to seeing you again very soon in our next video. Goodbye for now, and have a fantastic day.